morning, Boogie with the Bull. Oh, wait a minute, that's not the right size screen. Hang on just a second. There we are, Boogie with the Bull, Wednesday morning caffeine. We are a little fuzzy on my side. I looked at that. There is no correction that I could do, so I will be a little bit fuzzy today. I thought our internet was going to be shut off, but our weather out here is terrible anyway, so that will be affecting it anyway. Michael Anthony is here today with me, and before we went live in the green room, Michael Anthony said he wants to interview me this morning. So you know what? I think I'm going to do that. We're live on the Boogie with the Bull YouTube channel, and we're live on the Dave Logan profile here on Facebook, both with a live chat. So come in and get involved in the interview. And at this point, I will turn it over to Michael Anthony. Or wait a minute, hold on. I made a mistake that I didn't. Oh, there I did. Hold on. I got to remember to turn people's mics on once the music stops. Anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Michael Anthony, who is, I guess, going to interview me for a bit.
Yeah, I'm going to pick your brain. I don't have a problem with that.
I have a brain.
Well, we get to determine all that, but we'll try to get some answers here. So,
okay,
why do you do this?
Because I believe that I am what they call a communicator. It is my job to take different ideas, philosophies, whatever, and try to pass them out to the masses, whether they agree with me or not. And if they don't, it's to give them an opportunity to share why they think I don't, and or maybe try to, through conversation, find out that maybe I really do agree with you.
Okay. You know, that's interesting you brought that up because you said you, as a communicator, and isn't that what we're all trying to do? Communicate information to each other. And just something very fascinating happened to me, but really unexpected last night from a very, very, very big name that I know.
Okay.
And, you know, I just merely said to them, if there's anything I can do to help you, let me know. Because we send each other hellos time to time. Probably me more than them to me. And that's okay. That's okay. Because I have a different type of heart, different type of skill set of thought. And it turned more into the political end of what you do is not where I want to be. To me, they were basically saying to me, if you keep doing this, you may find yourself on the outside of the community. And I thought to myself, you know, all I've ever done are the same things you just brought up, was to try to share information, get to the facts of the knowledges and the truths, no matter where they lie, no matter what the content of the subject is. And it was kind of heartbreaking to see and think that we were, in my mind, what I thought were personal and good friends. So you never know how in these journeys we have accepted to take, as you doing what you do, as things doing as I do, would become under such scrutiny to where people would even then suggest to make a comment to somebody like that when all they did was good for them, number one. And number two, never asked them to be out of their space of comfortability to do anything or say anything. So I find what you say, what you just said there, to be heartening in a good way. But again, it takes us back into the scenario of the divide of America and how complex it really is. So I just thought I would share that because I get how you get and why you get the way you get.
I like what you said, because if I try to decipher it in Dave Globan English, it sort of is my goal with Boogie with the Bull, which is to bring people on and have a conversation about anything. Originally, my idea was because I was on at 9, 10, 11 o'clock. It changed a lot of times in the morning. And a lot of the people that do different things, not just politics, are on at 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, even later. There were some people doing stuff at midnight. There was one guy doing stuff at 3 o'clock in the morning. And the problem with doing stuff at 7, 8, 9 o'clock, midnight, 3 o'clock in the morning is that families with kids have to put their kids to bed and deal with that, or have to go to bed themselves because of their work, and they can't always watch those. So my idea was to bring people, regardless of what the conversation was about, into my slot in the morning when they probably could watch it and take part. And then hopefully one by one, they would continue to watch me, but at the same time, they would go watch you. They would go watch Randy. They would watch the American Rebellion. They would watch, Bongino, because I might be talking nice about Bongino one time. I always wanted people to go watch Rush because, as I've said before, my thesis in my broadcasting class to get my AA in broadcasting was partly, I hope that I get a syndicated radio show like Rush after I graduate, and I meet Rush, and Rush decides that, okay, I like you. I'm going to have you on a lot, but when I have to take a day off, you're going to be my go-to guy. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but,
Well, let me ask you this. Were you on a national radio network?
No, I was on a college radio station that had 500 watts, but the transmitter sat on top of a 1,500, I think 1,800 foot mountain with I think a 500-foot tower. So it gave us signal for a 500 watt college radio station.
Okay. Well, it was a simple yes or no then, really. I mean,
yeah.
But the thing is that was where you put your efforts. So
right.
Knowing that you do that is a good thing, because a lot of people may not really understand some of the general background of, who the hell is Dave Glovin,
Right.
I mean, and who the hell is Michael Anthony? No. We're, a part of a sector of a different nectar, I'll say.
Right.
So, well, with that said, and, not goofing around here, but just trying to have a civil conversation.
No.
So, I've been doing a lot of research recently, so I want to get some of your intake on this, your philosophy. So maybe you could put it into your layman terms. I was doing a lot of research, and I have been, on SpaceX and the programming and the private sector of developments and so forth. And, I come to the conclusion that NASA is even more of a bigger fraud than we could ever imagine. And why I say that, and I say it with confidence, is the fact that within the short time of SpaceX, within a short period of time, they become more successful on every groundbreaking new technology and performances into the skies than NASA has ever been able to do. At a cost of $500 billion. But look at the trillions. If you really count the money that has been placed into NASA and what has their successes really been. So the private sector has become the ruler of the thumb, and that's why Donald Trump is putting his support behind quality versus quantity.
But could it be when Barack Obama decided that he wasn't going to fund NASA anymore because the way I saw it, he didn't think it was worth us investing and investigating space, that all these private companies started contracting with the government to do that? I guess my belief is that Elon Musk must have thought he could have done it and gotten whatever results the government wanted, but done it at a significantly less cost. So that's why he contracted with the government. But I mean, that goes in other industries too. Jeff Bezos, who I affectionately call Jeff Bozo, started Amazon with his wife in their garage. And then, as Amazon grew, technology grew, he launched Amazon web hosting. And then that led to the Amazon cloud. And the Amazon cloud has a lot of the federal government as a contract. That's a contract. Why? Probably because they're very good at what they do, but also it's probably significantly less than the government having to build, web hosting and web service facilities and hire people to maintain them. And, most of that is probably a good portion of what Amazon needs anyway. So they built it, they got it up and running for Amazon, and then, went around and marketed it to anybody who wanted to use it, especially the federal government. From what I understand, it's one of the most secure clouds. It's one of the most secure web hosting and web servicing businesses. So again, when people in the government want to do something, they might look at private industry first to see what private industry is doing and the cost of private industry doing it, and then obviously contract with them. A lot of times, I believe different departments of the government are actually allowed to own private corporations. They buy a private corporation and bring it in because that corporation has their need. And I'm not opposed to that in some cases. I will never understand the full story of Evergreen Airlines. From what I understand, they were contracted with the government, or they were created by the CIA and every other three-letter agency to move stuff around, and regardless of what it was, for the federal government.
Yeah,
was it a corrupt business? Right. Was it a corrupt business? I can't really tell you. A very good friend of mine who passed away after I left Connecticut was at one time a pilot for Evergreen. He was on a final approach to land, and evidently the cockpit air system failed. He had, according to what his doctors told him, I think 2 or 3 strokes and several heart attacks, but he managed to get that plane onto the ground. He lost his job with them, to the best of my knowledge, and he ended up suing them. And I don't know what the final settlement was. He collected something. Eventually, he died from his injuries, but he very rarely would talk about his Evergreen experience when we were talking about him being a pilot. He usually talked about his private service, being a pilot, or the airlines that he worked for.
Yeah. Well, there's been many sister corporations to the Evergreen as well.
Right.
Land, air, and water. If you focus, and as far as Amazon and the development of cloud, it's just as Carmela Harris said, it's a place where we store everything about everyone's information up in the cloud. So,
I don't even think she understands what the cloud is. She talks about, imagine this big cloud full of data. I think once you get to that point in the conversation, most people don't understand that. I mean, they get to that point and they understand, and then it's too technical for them.
Well, I mean, you can look at it as basically it's a place where they're storing all our personal informations.
Right.
They are collecting data. What's in their testing lines of what they are following through on, or were trying to follow through on. So we live in a time where the government are basically double agents through their spying programs and deceitful plans of destruction that surround us. As an example, they use green in a lot of places. including the
Literally,
climate and pollution. So,
literally,
but
literally use
does
green.
not it take pollution? Does not it take pollution to make everything in some facet, some form?
Okay,
If you're a logger, you need chainsaws. Although now they have newer technologies too. They have lasers that can cut,
okay,
but there is something behind something that all must take place that causes pollution that takes us towards advancement. If you're making windmills for power sourcing, it takes pollution and development, heat, resources, petroleum, to again, somehow it does cause pollution. Now, when we hear like things from Donald Trump, and look, it's okay to disagree because sometimes an element is just missed in a conversation or
right,
within a statement. That China is worse in pollution than the United States. China is first,
right.
United States is second. But are we truly second when you see the bigger plan of the sky cocktails and the treatments of what's going on up there covering the whole world? So is it
Right.
really a superpower of China being the worst? Or was it the government of the United States poisoning the entirety of the world
Well,
through the Paris Climate Accord?
okay. I I think it was the government of the United States doing whatever it had to do, even if it was a positive result they were going after, and pollution resulted while they were trying to do it and had to be maintained after, is just the way things are. As far as China being the number one polluter and us being maybe number two, or I don't really care what it is, I believe every administration in some way, including Trump's, was to just bow down to China or give them dates like 5 or 10 years in the future that they had to be a level that the United States and other countries were, rather than just saying, the whole team, the whole organization, whatever the project is, saying to China, you cannot be a part of whatever we are doing globally until you at least show an effort to deal with the pollution that you're causing, just like the pollution we caused. And, same thing with like the World Health Organization. Trump left it because I believe we were probably paying the most to fund it. The Chinese were continuously in the control of the executive officers or whatever, and you know they would use it against us regardless of whether or not we were a member or not. And it's sort of like I said the other day, governments of the world have to kind of learn to coexist with each other. What you do in your country, as long as you're not breaking some gross international law that we all agree to, uh, what you do in your country and for your citizens is up to you. But when we talk as a world, what you do in your country for your citizens has to be at least the same level, on the same playing field the rest of the world is. I think prior to Trump's first term, and I hope we see it again in his second term, is that we allowed China, Russia, and I can't think of any other superpower, and even wannabe superpowers like Iran and North Korea, to kind of table and gang up with the others against us. And you know what? We can't do it. I've heard rumors supposedly that our founding fathers did not ever think we would be here 240 something years in the future. Either someone else would have swallowed us up, or we just would have blown ourselves up, and who knows what the result is. And when you talk about green, even you or anybody else, when anybody talks about a Green New Deal, my first comment is that the only thing that is more green than the last one is the amount of money we have to put into it.
Well,
Almost to the point.
As you always do, you conclude on many rabbit holes. But
I do.
Who creates a superpower? Leadership.
Right.
Doesn't mean that there truly are a superpower. It's just a name. It's an element. It's an entitlement. And who influences that? The United States of America. Right. It always circles back to the government of America, the occupiers of other nations, the ones who destroy countries purposefully for their own agenda, for their own wealth and well-being. So what do you conclude by it? To say that one shouldn't worry about what China does versus what America does, this is exactly why we have a divide. You must care about everything in order to address it. Otherwise, any comment that one would make would be a negative response of comment, because they're not allowing the total picture to come into play to analyze the information properly. And all I'm saying to you is we all have that right to analyze and theorize to an answer of a response, but it doesn't always make it better than where we started from at the point when the question was asked. So into the future, I would just suggest to people, we may hear things, we may think we know about things, but it doesn't mean the things we hear are true.
That's correct, which is why most of us are what I affectionately call conspiracy theorists. And in my league of being a broadcaster, that's okay, because I want to bring everybody together and discuss the conspiracy theory from both sides. Other people don't want to deal with conspiracy theories. They want to just come down and go on and talk about the facts that they learned from the research they did. That's okay. I'll still bring you on, but I'm going to question it from my point of view and discuss it with you from my point of view. And sometimes those people don't want to come on a broadcast because they think they won't get to spend the whole broadcast convincing everybody that they're right. It's, to me, it's a talk show. And like I said in the beginning, it's bringing on people who have different ideas. And if we can all agree to get along for an hour and a half, let's have a conversation. I may not agree with them. They may not agree with me, but at least let's talk. At the end of the time, I tell people that watched and listened, you have to decide how you feel for yourself on whatever we discussed, and that's okay. You may not agree with me. I may not agree with you. That's just the way it is. It's like I said, it's being a communicator in the sense of bringing things to people that they might want to think about themselves and maybe come to a conclusion. If not, I try to include a little bit more than just politics. I've done broadcasts with people that are not political in any sense. We don't talk politics in any sense. We talk, the reason that I brought them on. I love bringing Joe Burlak on from divinity.org because it's a holistic approach to life, and I enjoy discussing it and hearing what he is doing. I wish I could get my sister on, but because I'm a Republican and I cast, she won't come on because she's afraid it might turn political. So, and she's a recognized expert in what she does.
Okay, well,
but
her voice is unimportant if she won't use it. See, that's the whole factor behind a lot of this of what we deal with. What makes a show a show? I guess if you have one viewer, you're showing something, you're producing something, you're creating live, a live form of thought. and a
Right.
live form of information. But for one to place you somewhere where they think your show content only is about a narrative, then, you know,
Mhm.
that should be subject to ridicule and should be even able to be
Well,
discussed. Please let me finish. Please,
it
please.
is.
I
Okay, go
listened
ahead.
to you for the past
Go
10
ahead.
minutes and you forget that I'm
Go
here.
ahead.
Okay.
Go
And
ahead.
I'm not doing that to be disrespectful to you, but you
No, that's okay.
answering a
Go ahead.
question is not a story hour. Okay. So focus as
Okay.
best you can to follow me here. But actually, go ahead. I'll just let you do it
Mhm.
because where I was going to go now, I don't remember. But um,
I was just going to say that, unfortunately, with the two networks that we're on, YouTube and Facebook, I'm at the mercy of who they allow to see me and when they allow people to see me. Uh, if it was my own network, I could just, or my own website, I could just put it on, and whoever comes and watches it comes and watches it, uh, and and that's how it is. I tell people also, if you can't catch me live on Facebook or on YouTube, then go to Facebook and YouTube and watch the podcast.
yeah,
Comment,
I
comment
hear you
on.
say that a lot. I do. I
No
hear you
one,
say
no
that a
one
lot.
does. Well, no one does on YouTube. On Facebook, there are people that I know can't watch the live, so they will either watch the podcast or they ask me to message it to them, and as long as I'm allowed to do that over Messenger, I do.
Yeah.
And only one person. You only need one person watching to feel that you're doing what we all set out to do. But I don't have a problem if no one is watching. I went on, did and said what I thought I needed to say. There was no one on to challenge me, or there were people on to challenge me, and I did what I wanted to do. So, no one watching isn't a deterrent to stop me from doing what I do. It might not be an hour and a half broadcast. It might end up being a 3 hour broadcast. It just depends on what I'm going to rant on and how long I'm going to rant on it.
Yeah. Right. I guess the biggest worry is into the future will be how the restrictions work because, everything's becoming outdated and a lot of people can't
Right,
just go out and buy new technology every 3, 6 months, a year. Um,
right,
and that's another form of the divide of the system. So people have the ability to watch you if they want to. Um,
right.
People just don't indulge in some of the smaller shows that may have the same
It,
important information that other larger shows have.
right.
But it doesn't mean
It's
what they talk about is any different from what a smaller show talks about. And until
right,
America starts to face the reality of idolism and how stupid it actually is, to make only the richer more richer and the ones at the bottom who just want to have part of that sharing mechanism not for the benefit of wealth, even though we could all use that as well, but to just show their strength for us and for our
right.
platforms to have more success.
I think I,
That's a very disappointing element, and there's a
it
divide there
is.
even amongst all the people we voted with.
Right. I personally think that if I had the bucks to launch boogiewiththebull.net.com.org, whatever it would be, I would go out and do what every other social media network does with all the big guys, and obviously charge less for them to be on, or maybe even not charge anything for them to be on my platform. But I think in the grand scheme of things, for every hour or 2 hours they're on, The following the 2 hours before and the 2 hours after would be people down in our league that don't have the potential to to be on where they are. I mean, I don't care that Dan Bongino is on. I don't care that Steve Bannon is on. I don't care that Alex Jones is on. I'd actually like to do a show with the three of them, and I probably wouldn't talk at all. But I would actually love to have any one of them on at any one time. Bongino and I would talk politics because there were rumors going around that he was going to be nominated or appointed by Trump to be his Secret Service director. He has Secret Service experience. He worked on the Obama team, so there's a point of conversation. Steve Bannon went to jail because of things that he didn't tell Congress, and that he wasn't going to tell Congress, or and things that they felt, that crimes that they felt that he committed. I would love to bring him on and talk about that, but at the same time, he ran Breitbart from, I believe, when Andrew Breitbart died until he left to start War Room. So, I mean, there's fascinating things with all of these people that have nothing to do with really politics. I'd love to talk with Alex Jones about the InfoWars store. He makes something like $100 million a year with his Infonet Wars store. And I have trouble trying to sell a coffee mug for $20.
Well, $20 would be a little high for a coffee mug.
Well, unfortunately, it was $20 because the mug cost $10, and then the shipping was $10.
And that's why I go to the dollar store, because it only costs me a goddamn dollar. And but it's the fascinating, the fascinating part of having an idol's product. Right. Well, what does it do for you when you put it up to your mouth and you drink from the cup? Nothing different than a dollar store cup. So
it doesn't do anything for me other than maybe one day at home or at work or in a coffee bar, you might be drinking your coffee out of a Boogie with a Bowl cup.
Yeah.
Because that's what they offered you to drink your coffee in, and to me, it's just self-promotion. I mean, it's just promotion of what I do. It doesn't, I'll take it down for a second. I always tease that we have a bipartisan cup. You can hold it in your left hand, and it shows that you're a leftist, communist, socialist, whatever you want to call yourself, wingnut, who enjoys watching Boogie with the Bull. You may not agree with anything, but you watch it anyway. If you hold it in your right hand, it shows that you're a conservative, patriot, or good, hardcore believing Republican, if that's what you want to call, and you drink your coffee and you hold it in your right hand because show everybody that you support the program. But also, as I've said always, merchandising was never a part of this. I didn't do this so that I could sell coffee mugs or T-shirts or logo apparel and get rich or even get paid for it. I started this because I felt there was a need to do it. And, the only expense that I have in doing it is whatever I have to pay for live streaming. And until I figure out a way that I can do it without having to pay a live stream bill, I have to pay one.
But you're on a free stream service, are you not?
I'm on a free stream service that you can watch, but it costs me $19 a month for me to be on Restream.
Oh, okay.
And I had always said, I don't care. I will pay for the cost to get me onto Restream so that I can be on YouTube, Facebook, any place else I can get us on at the same time. I'll pay that out of my pocket because I want to be the one who pays that. I don't believe in advertisers because advertisers will eventually think they have some control over what is discussed on the broadcast because they're advertising. That's why I don't have. I have sponsor. I'll do a sponsorship announcement where I'll just say, "This portion is brought to you by Michael Anthony Master Chainsaw Cutter," and maybe have a graphic on the screen of something you have carved while I read something that describes your chainsaw business and how people get a hold of you. It doesn't say that you endorse what I'm doing on the broadcast. It doesn't say you don't endorse what I'm doing on the broadcast. It's just, and usually then I don't want your money for doing it. I want you to give me some of, excuse my English, some of the crap that you sell, and I don't mean crap negatively, but give me some of the gear that you sell or some of the product that you offer so that I can give it away. I can use it to say, think about this person the next time you need something done. Think about this coffee company the next time you're out buying coffee. But that's why I don't have a lot of them, because I don't approach a lot of them because I'm too afraid that most will say no. They just don't want to do the trade out of me talking about their business with an opportunity to give some of their stuff away. That's where it comes back most of the time. Most of the time people don't want to do it. But before that, I used to say, hey, if you have a ball cap that has the name of your business on it, send it in to me, and I'll do a shot talking about your business and how people contact you. But I don't know. I do it because I enjoy it. I'm not the best at it. I'm not the worst at it. I don't even like to justify whatever claim on the scale of good or bad that I am. I just like to say I'm Dave Glovin and you're not, and I do it this way because I'm Dave Glovin.
Okay. Going back, I guess.
I know I keep throwing you down rabbit holes.
No, you're not throwing me down rabbit holes. You just keep opening them. And your concentration to the question becomes an absurdity through analogy.
Okay.
It's hard. I mean, that's why I just shut up and just said, okay, at some point he will stop.
Or stop.
No, I don't want to do that. You have to learn to control your own mechanism. Okay? That's how it works. When you're having a conversation or a guest that said, hey, okay, I'll try to interview you and entertain some of your thoughts. It's not that it was a personal interview. It was just a way of getting into the person behind of theory of what we're analyzing and the analogies of things like that. But, at some point, the person will stop. And the best time and the best thing at points of time is just to let them go. At some point, they're going to realize how far they have overreached what they needed to do, because sometimes mainly a question becomes a more simplified answer within the yes or no vocabulary. So what am I here doing? I'm trying to give you a little guidance of securing the measure of how you proceed forward. It may be able to help you in certain ways. And if I'm wrong, my apologies. But
no, you're fine. You're fine. My brain thinks, I hear someone ask me a question. I start giving an answer. I don't usually stop because my brain then clicks and says, this is part of the answer. Then this is part of the answer. And I'm afraid that if I don't say everything, then I'm not fully answering the question. So I've always told people, if you have to, tell me to shut up. On other broadcasts, I've told them just turn my mic off if I'm going too long, because I don't yet know how or when I have given enough of an answer, unless the person asking the question tells me they've heard enough and want to go on to something else.
My theory behind why I've taken you down this road is the element of your fear to be alone.
Nope.
Going live, no one else being there, and then you're lost. When all the time you have the information. So if you could imagine, in theory, a sequences of questions that you answer for yourself, meaning subject, topic, subject matter, and you're speaking within yourself, to the viewer. And you start with that by saying something like, something that troubles me, that I think about, is the pollution problem, the plastics
Okay.
in the water. Do you see where I'm going with this? How then you can proceed and build confidence, because we all need confidence
I,
builders. We all have these moments of weakness, but it doesn't mean we're any less than anybody else. The best in the business never sit alone. They are no freaking better. They have groupies
okay.
all around them, collecting the data, collecting the PowerPoints, and giving the information so that they can just walk through a door, sit down, and start putting their own twist of analyzations to them. Where you, in fact,
Okay.
if you did it, would not have that, which would mean you would be more factual in the presentation that you are delivering. Because why? It came from your heart, it
Okay.
came from your mind, it came from your soul. It didn't come from people doing the homework for you. This is why we need to move away in that structure and why you should become stronger, focusing
Okay.
upon the key elements that most disturb your mindset of thought. Because why? They are a factual problem. And when you focus your points that way into the future, you strengthen oneself.
Okay. In 6 years of radio, I never wrote out anything for that show before that show. I just sat down, turned on the mic, and did my show. And I guess that's where my mindset is, that I'm more interested, even in the live stream broadcast now, of getting other people into the live chat or getting other people on to to start a discussion about anything and see where it goes, because I'm afraid if I promote talk about what's happening so far in the first week of President Trump, people that don't want to talk about that might not watch and participate in the live chat.
Right.
People that watch me and watch me every day that I'm on doing this know I generally don't plan, because I don't plan what we're going to do on a broadcast other than maybe a sentence that says, hey, we might do this, we might do this, we might do this. Uh, Only because, again, it's that fear. It's not that fear. It's not a fear of being alone. It's a fear of not understanding what people want from this broadcast. Because, like I said, the point of this ministry isn't for me to stand behind the pulpit and preach the mind of Dave Glovin. It's for me to use that maybe to start a conversation, but hope that other people come in. And on some broadcasts, I have stayed out of the conversation because either other people on the panel and that particular guest were having a great conversation, and I popped in when I needed to, but I don't care. It's like when we had Dr. Amy on and you were on, and I think Chuck Cook was on, and I think Randy Rhodes was on. Randy was asking her a lot simply by listening to Randy. You chimed in and you said a lot. And, I think Chuck Cook said his usual 7 words, which is a joke. But, I don't have, what I'm learning is I don't have to be the one spouting for the entire hour and a half if there are other people on. And usually the other people that I invite on No, it's what I call an open discussion broadcast. We can bring up anything, unless, of course, the whole panel decides we don't want to discuss something, or we don't just, yeah, we don't want to discuss something
Well,
anymore.
okay,
Uh,
okay. You told me just stop you, so
so,
we're gonna red flag you there. Okay, so you got a couple other things going on that probably you regurgitate in your mind much too often. What is active viewership versus non active viewership? If your concern is how many you can get on at the moment you turn live, it's because nobody knows who you are. So where do you
okay,
put your focus from there? No, really, I even gone through it. There's times I have good numbers. There's times my numbers are crap. The
okay,
point is, I keep going, and I don't address the issue anymore of what your analogy is, of this, that,
okay.
the other. Who? So what becomes more important? The fact that they're there before with you while you're live, or the fact that they will actually listen to you after you're not? So, does it matter how many shares truly go out during the show? Is that
Doesn't
the
matter.
important thing of only having the same 12 people in the chat every day? No,
It
no,
is
it's not.
no, it is not
See, you're not letting see
the
again,
12
David.
people in
David,
the
you don't allow me to finish. So, with that, go ahead,
okay.
please, because I understand you're
The
anxious. You're an anxious
the
person.
same 12 people or any 12 people or one person every day is a major part of why I do this, because if it wasn't if I wasn't concerned with bringing other information, meaning
You would be
those
lost.
watching, then I anymore. I'd just start doing, I would just, I'd probably write down what I was going to do, or just come on in I don't know,
Ah, ah.
15, 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. I wouldn't, it's not that I would stop doing over time, because if I only had to deal with me and what came out of my mouth, there wouldn't be constant regurgitation trying to fill an hour and a half,
Right.
except that you say can be said in 30 minutes, and it's done.
And you'd be larger, you'd have a more successful show.
Okay. Okay.
Truly, you would, because
But
the point of fact is
I
important.
probably would.
The point in fact is that you would have less problems if you concentrated
Okay.
on the after effect and how much stronger then that would make you. People will
Okay.
see you, people will watch you. You don't have to be in their moment, but you will reach them. Let that be a focus of concentration for you, and you will have much greater success in numbers. I promise you. You have
Okay.
to analyze the situation and you have to come to the conclusion at some point. It's not working. Oh, I'm on this show. Let me share
Okay.
50 things for Jerry. Okay, that's great. Let me share 50 things for me. I get it. I understand that. But the true fact is, the point is, what happens comes after. The after effects.
Mm-hmm.
While you're doing it as a targeted individual podcaster, as many political groups are with shows, are only attacked while they are trying to develop and share. But the truth is, if you develop and share after the format, your strength becomes much stronger and folds.
Okay.
Practice that.
I guess then some of the fear is that if I became a solo broadcast, meaning just coming on and talking from my heart, my brain, how I feel, this, that, and the other thing, and ended in 30 minutes, other broadcasts wouldn't, in their broadcast, that with me doesn't fit into their broadcasts. People and still have that that conversation with any other broadcaster, podcaster on Facebook. But here is that, it's only going on and doing what, and I may build my numbers. My fear is that aside from building my numbers of people watching, I'm not to panel broadcasters that cover the similar topics.
Yeah, I get it.
And again, when I did radio, I had the behind my mic. I didn't focus on who was listening. And I just sat down in front of my mic and assumed that like 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. slot pulling number one, obviously people were listening. My college radio shows were 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. Nobody listened. So, pretty much the rule between the station and I was I could it didn't cost an FCC violation or board of trustees to lose their radio station.
And this was actually an internship for you, correct?
The college radio station was my college radio station was a requirement of my broadcasting from AA.
Right. So you were performing under an internship.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it wasn't actually.
Yeah, I was.
It wasn't actually like a formality of a job. It was something that you needed to do within the process for your further approval.
That, but also the 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Radio slot was on a radio station that paid me to be there. The owner of the station was a hardcore Republican. He was Eisenhower's chief speechwriter, and he liked me, and that's why I was there. So, I'm sure if I started doing something in a completely different direction of what I did, I probably wouldn't be there anymore. And my numbers probably would have gone down, which was why he continued to pay me.
Yeah. I actually talked to Laura Eisenhower this morning for a moment. She made a post, and it went from there. Because even her, with such a strong substance of voice and numbers of people who follow her, there's that group that is still out there removing content, and that is what's most disturbing. Even now with change, there's a direct attack to people, still a voice, which always happens. So that's why I say to you, and sometimes the better ways to get around this is if people won't help you do it. There's nothing wrong with structuring yourself, whether you're on for 30 minutes or you're on an hour and a half or 2 hours with people of commentary. There's a control structure that needs to be in place for anybody that wants to take a step up the ladder. Language appropriate will be number one. Not victimizing towards any culture, race, or creed, or direct commentary of a negative action towards anybody else. I guarantee you, if you clean these parts up while you have guests on, you will see more success also.
Okay.
Because you cannot break the rules to kill the divide that has already been taking place, because they will self-destruct within your own network of shows. People will learn to judge you, because your job as a journalist, radio journalist, a speaker to people, is a responsibility of ethic to go with it. And without the ethic existing anymore, the path further opens to the stupid of the destruction that we are now living within. And the positive manner that you can influence into the future by putting up your finger and saying, no, not here, not today. It won't be like that. And you control the subject matter. Remember, we are all judged upon words, David. That's all I'm saying.
We
And it's
are.
very important. I don't care if you got to go to the dollar store and get a little sand vial. It has 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes. And if you have 5 guests, it takes people 10 minutes. Please, into the future, tell them, stick to the process of the program and what the discussion is. Stick to the 2 minute time limit, and you'll be able to make a certain amount of rotation. More rotation by less people, less rotation by more people. And it seems that Randy's here for your second hour, and I gave you my first 1 hour. That's the time length that I do my shows now. It's been fun.
Right. I'm glad that you were here.
It's been fun.
I'm glad that you were here. I look forward to maybe doing more just you and I, what I used to call the Sherman and Peabody shows. I enjoy learning with you, and like I said before, I kind of blame you for years ago, because I was sharing you, and
I have your first show, Dave. I have your very first show in my file. I can post that date for you to give you a better reminder of time frequency. But listen, before I leave, let's address one more thing, and I think this is important because it's vibing everywhere. It's the vibe. It's the buzz in the United States. Was this pastor of the church that directly put an attack to the president? Was this a plan? Was this something from the other side that Trump never thought they would ever go to such an extreme of such low?
Well, you want my personal opinion?
I'm asking Dave. But
hold on,
I'm going to be leaving, Rand. But yeah,
right.
Of course, Randy.
I will swing to you in a second, but before Michael goes, yes, I think it was a plant. If I remember correctly, and I may be wrong, we apologize, but I believe the lady pastor is in fact a openly, I don't know what the word I want.
We all know where you're going.
Is what I'm going to use. Right. The lady is an openly gay who's ordained in the church, represents, and the other side obviously felt that slipping her into the program might have caused embarrassment to Trump. I don't know. If it was me, I would just tell people that, I'm 63 years old. I'm the president of the United States. Not everybody likes me. So at my inauguration and all the things going around to celebrate my inauguration, every American has a right to speak, whether they agree with me or don't agree with me. They even use their time when speaking to me to tell me. So I would have just let. I've never watched something where this was happening to Donald Trump, and never saw that he wasn't focused to that person. So that tells me that at least he was giving that person the respect to speak for themselves. And as an American citizen, that's all you can ask for. And I love you dearly, Michael. As you said, you've got to come out.
I do. But I want to stay here to get Randy's input. I mean, it's important that I want to close that way.
Yep. Okay, go ahead, Randy.
So we're talking about this embarrassment to the ministry that Trump had to endure sitting there, correct?
Yes.
So let's look at it from a couple of different aspects. Trump, at his inauguration speech, laid it out quite clearly to the Democrats who were in the audience at his inauguration. And unfortunately, out of respect to him, they did not get up and walk out of the inauguration. They had to sit there and they had to endure it. I guess the first off, with Trump going to that church, someone should have told him, if he didn't know, what this lady was like as far as what her beliefs were, what her personal life is like. I think if he would have known just how far she was to the left, he probably never would have gone into that church service. Okay. But unfortunately, he had to sit there with a smile on his face and endure the exact same commentary that he gave to the Democrats at the inauguration. Now, moving forward, I think Trump should obviously avoid that lady. He did come out and he made comments about her, which is good. But unfortunately, someone didn't give him the heads up. Hey, boss, just so you know, this is how she feels about lesbian, gays, and transgender. Perhaps going to her service may not be a good idea because she laid it out. I mean, I listened to the whole damn thing. She laid it out there, and Sus, he walked into it with and he had to sit there. Now, could he walked out? Couldn't he? He could have walked out, but I think he would have gotten more flack from the left media had he walked out on the service. That's my personal opinion.
Okay, I get it, and that's why I wanted to stay around just for a minute. But here's my only thought to that, and I posted it earlier this morning. You can't personally take one's opinions of stupidity over facts. You take on the job as the commander in chief, and you see the big picture out there of what the people have asked for and why they voted for you and what the defects have been throughout America for what has happened. And you're not going to make everybody happy. There's going to be casualties of many different types of wars. We've seen that all take place for years since he took that momentous ride down the escalator in Trump Tower. And they started at that moment of attack, and they never let up, and they're not going to stop. They'll keep going. But in fact, here, what we have is someone that was looking at a narrative to suggest things and to point out things without understanding and scrupulating through the important factors of the devastation that this has caused. So what is more important and what must one sometimes put aside? This has come now to a point of religion getting pushed aside, back to the old way of where keep the politics out of the church. But he will have to address it, and more importantly, protect the nation. So however he goes forth, I'm going to support however he reacts to it, comments. It doesn't matter to me. But the scenario still remains. He didn't do this out of malice towards anybody or to break families apart. He has to repair a nation. And I think people that are smart and intelligent are going to understand that we and him are going to be in a compromised position over this. It's going to affect all of us as it is now, and that's why we're talking about it. Does that make any sense to anybody?
Yes, it does.
The good thing is that there are folks coming out in support of Trump. Greg, not Fetterman, Greg Gutfield on his show. They have that liberal lady that's on there. Of course, she came out in support of the priestess, or whatever you want to call her. Greg ripped her a new one in support of Trump. I just think that with Trump, I haven't seen anything. Haven't really been following all the stuff that Trump's been signing into law, whatever. But I am a big believer that lowering the standards of the military just so you can allow X number of females or are gays or lesbians or transgender into the uniform is not a good thing, because when it comes down to it and you're in a combat situation, that male, biological male, who was being shot at by Russians or Chinese or whoever, he has to depend on the person to his left and to his right and behind him, that they're going to protect him, keep him from harm's way. And if that transgender to the right and that gay person to the left and the lesbian person to the behind him aren't up to the challenge, that puts that biological male in harm's way. I think the standard should be the same for everyone, male and female, as well as biological females. And if you can't do that job, then there are other positions within the military that you could qualify for. You could sit in a chair with a Game Boy remote control and launch missiles or fly a drone. You don't have to be in combat on boots on the ground, fighting in the fields. I think Trump is right for removing them. I think Trump is right for firing the generals who are all supportive of that. And he just needs to clean house and make our military strong. We're entering an area where we may be looking at a war with Russia, with China, perhaps Iran. We're still not finished off with Israel. I mean, we still may have to do boots on the ground to clean out the rest of the Hamas terrorists. And look what's going on with the southern border. There's video on Newsmax yesterday where the Mexican soldiers who are supposed to be shutting down the border in that one area wasn't up to task, and thousands of immigrants pushed their way through. They're headed to the United States. So we're going to have boots on the ground, perhaps federal soldiers at the southern border with their weapons, with their Humvees, with perhaps tanks. I don't know, because he did also put a challenge out to the cartel. He now has them as being terrorists. The entire world now has to see them as terrorists and treat them as such. So he may have a target on his head by a cartel. Let's just take out the bad orange man and show him who's in charge here. We're not out of the woods yet. We may still have military conflict ahead of us.
Can I respond, Michael?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Part of what you mentioned, I completely disagree with. Okay. I understand other broadcasters, and I even understand people that may be watching us disagree that women should not be in the military, that you seem to believe that they are not physically built to handle combat. Talk to Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. It is a requirement of Israel law. Every male or female born in Israel is required to serve time in the Israeli military. And to the best of my knowledge, there is no limit as to what a female can do. Then talk to Arik Kadish, who is the chairman of the board of Bain Capital, Mitt Romney's capital company. She got shot in the Israeli war. That's why she walks with a limp. You never mentioned the limp to her. But if you want to talk to her about women serving in the military, I believe she was a drill sergeant when she got shot and had to leave. So I'm tired of hearing, Dave Glovin, is tired of hearing that women cannot serve in the United States military and cannot do combat.
I did not say that there should be a ban on women in the military. I said that the standards of training should not be lowered to allow the women to do the same job. I don't know what training the women in the Israeli army go through. I mean, you're right. There are biological men and women in the Israeli army who are fighting side by side. Do we know? Do we know if Israeli?
Talking about gays. I'm not talking about gays. I'm not talking about men that go into the United States military, hoping that the military will pay for its gender. That is something that I do not agree with. But had women in the military. We have trained them to do combat. They have gone in and done combat before. Okay, I don't know if standards were lowered for them, but in the Army, you have to do PT. You have to qualify. Regardless, you have to qualify. As a female who is going to go into battle, you have to pass PT that shows you're capable of going into battle. That is a policy of the United States military. If you're not qualified of going into battle, you don't get removed from the United States military. You get shifted to another job that doesn't involve you going into combat.
Okay.
So that's the last.
Okay. With that said, it does come down to standards. And what we are witnessing is a man who we've asked to clean up America. This is part of it. Taking it back to the rule of thumb, to where and what our forefathers established, and the laws then that were most important on the establishments that he is capable of running. And it's always going to be scrutinized. It doesn't matter. But were things of standards moved around to indoctrinate a chilling, disturbing change of our military presence and identification model? So all he is doing, I think, and I think this is very relevant, is to recreate the system back to the old system and then analyze the system on exactly what you both have said, allowing people in some mannerism to be able to be part of a function if they truly believe in it. That's why citizenship is so important as well. These are all connecting boundaries. And I think, how you guys both just brought it up was great. And what you're both thinking is pretty much the same. It's equal, just delivered in different ways. Maybe not really disagreeing, but creating positivity of information. You both did it, and that's what's important. Now, if you can analyze the structure, Dave, into the future of jumping into things, no conversation in a platform should ever become personal between two people and everyone else be left out. So that's why I waited to let it end to say what I wanted to say. And I did that for an example to furthermore what we talked about earlier, Dave. And I'm not saying you're not doing it. Some of these things are just put us all in a mindset of rebuttal. And everybody needs to. I get that. That's how we vent. That's how we release. And honestly, it's better for our bodies. But sometimes we have to take the deeper breath and wait a moment to be able to do that. I want to bring up one other thing that's important before I go, and I want to leave this with you guys to think about. Everybody's all into this. What the hell's Trump naming the Gulf of America for? Well, if you knew what China was trying to do to get out of the tariffs with Mexico, you would understand why he is using maritime law, the rule of the water of the land of America to control the vessels. Because if he doesn't, they will then port in Mexico, and Mexico will become the kingdom of the port, and we will lose the tariffs. We will lose them. We won't have any. And that's why Trump is doing. Same with Canada. Why does he want Canada? Because they have other movements that they can make on us, and we lose drastically. He's going to protect his plan. I just want everybody to know that's really what we're looking at here. He's not going after these for all these, it's not about I'm going to create a kingdom, but he will, and he is. But it's all to protect, the legacy of what's been started and how the system of America should work. So if he takes over the whole country of Mexico, I wouldn't blame him. Because right now, as you just said, Randy, they're not listening through an executive order. They're not going back to the contracts of the country signed, the treaty of, respect. They are basically throwing in his face the way we were seeing a lot of other things being compromised. Lawsuits are flying over the desk. There's going to be a lot of controversial things. But remember, this was well thought out. And I think it's a chess move ahead of what China and Russia and anybody else tries to do to get away and get out of the tariffs.
Before you leave, I found this. Following a 3-year review, the Army has scrapped plans to use the same physical fitness test for all soldiers, choosing instead of some reduced standards to allow women into the service. The decision follows a study that found that men were more easily passed the new, more difficult Army combat fitness compared to the women. They found that 44% of the women failed the test of the same caliber of the men, as opposed to 7% of the men failing the standards. That's what I'm saying. There are other aspects of the military that these people can get involved with to fight. Like I gave the example of controlling drones. That's a new and more positive way to people. I mean, look at Ukraine. They got the damn dogs. You got the drones in the air. They got the drones in the water that the British are giving them. So there are other aspects of the military that a transgender, a gay or lesbian, or a female, biological female, can do if they can't pass the same standards of tests that the men are put through. Again, I'll go back to the example. I don't want to be in combat to find out that the person next to me didn't pass her exam, and she wasn't able to pull a man with his equipment, 10 feet. Because I want to be able to get pulled out of the combat so I can bleed out somewhere else. But I'm not saying they shouldn't be in the military, just not boots on the ground, fighting a combat scenario, hand to hand, and so forth. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. I'm not going to agree with part of that if you're a male and you're in the Army, hoping that the military is going to pay for you to transgender, you should never have joined the Army anyway.
Correct.
You compromised everybody in the Army.
Correct.
Whether or not you're gay and you're in the Army, I'm not gonna say yes or no, because there are gays in the military that have earned their right to be in combat and are capable of doing what is expected of them in combat. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Going back to the only Clinton policy that I ever agreed with was don't ask, don't tell. Because if you are qualified to do whatever you are doing in the United States military, to me, it doesn't really matter if you're gay or you're whatever. The Army is a family. The military is a family. Your ideologies have to be you have to be able to drop and separate your own personal ideologies for when you are in conflict with your family. You have to be able to go in and support everybody. You can't say I'm not going to back that person up because they're gay or a lesbian. You should not ever have to back that person up, that male up, who is in there hoping that the military will pay for his transgendering, because the policy should never have gotten to that point. General Milley should never have been allowed to soften up the standards of what was required, male, female, animal, vegetable, to go into the United States military. It should have remained, we are a family. Our first responsibility is to ourselves and to back up everybody else with us. You have to be able to be focused on that job. And to me, realistically, if you're gay, it doesn't matter. If you want to be transgendered by the Army, you shouldn't be in the Army, because the Army isn't going to let you stay in the Army once you get transgendered, regardless of who pays for it, because they believe you're a risk to the rest of your family. And that's, the greater need of the family has to override the individual person's rights. That's what they teach you when you go in.
Look, okay, so
wait a minute. I'm here.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Are
Michael.
we rotating?
Oh, I don't know. What are you rotating?
That's what a
Well,
platform
okay,
is for. I'm sorry. I'm not
it's my
trying to be rude,
apology.
but look,
It's my apology,
you know,
Michael.
I get where you guys are coming from, and I don't disagree with it. But I mean, even if you go back to the Knights Templar and you look at history, the masculine versus the feminine, there was always a need for women and where they could be within a war. So I get where Dave's coming from, but I also get your points, Randy. And so this is positive to both of you, okay? But I mean, let's not talk about the wives of the Templars and that they carried swords, or the pharaohs of women, but history was erased, and we cannot let that control the system any longer. Um, Again, it's going to take a lot to cure the issues, and I think we will see a quick turn of events come about. People will be moved and placed into areas where their qualifications best suit them. Um, on both, whether you're a male with feminine desires or a female with masculine desires, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you couldn't do the same conditioning test that the male did versus the woman, and some women will outdo men. Even the Vatican had a military of nuns. A lot of people don't realize it. Why was that important? They were utilizing them to where they could work best. If they were better with their hands, with fighting skills of a different nature, whether it was through Chinese art, kung fu, whatever, the point is they were doing it. Or like German did, using beautiful German women to infiltrate the men's bedroom to get the secrets. There's the art of war and the obstruction of wars. The point is, what I'm saying is this can all be worked out. We may not be in the back days of history, but in the forefront of what will come, the change will be of greatness because it'll have more fairness. And some of the fairness that is taking place under Millie is a laughable exchange of continental fluid, meaning that has no precedence to what a military stands for. And until they get that objective under control, which I really believe they will, Trump's not going to just axe people. Hey, get rid. He's going to go after the problems of the sources and then rebuild the structure of the military. He made that address right in his delivery speech, where they had to sit and the left had to sit there and listen throughout it. Anyway, with that, look, all I'm suggesting is a conversation is never between two people. If you have 3 on, 4 on, or 5 on. And Dave, I would suggest, and Randy, I suggest even when you do shows, go get one of the dollar store little valves. And when that 2 minutes is up, it'll create a much better frequency of environment and information. It will be more fluid, and people won't have to sit there impatiently or feel like they're left out, and everybody will have equal time. Also, always carry a tablet and pencil. And remember, a pencil's not really a lead pencil. It's a graphite.
Okay.
I'm just saying it's what you've been taught. I'm just saying it's everything that we've been taught.
Right. My problem is that when I grab the pad. Okay. All right, Michael. Thank you for being here. My problem has always been, as I joke about it, if I grab a pad and a pencil and I keep it to write things down, then when it's my turn to speak, I can't find the pencil, I can't find the paper, and I can't find the pad, or we've moved on to other things. But I understand and I appreciate the suggestions that he made. What I was going to say to Michael before he left was that Millie did what he felt he had to do for his commander in chief, and as a result, he was given the option to retire or wait for the new commander in chief to remove him, and that may have been what needed to be done. He should not have been allowed to, in some cases, to compromise the military for the way Joe Biden, his commander in chief, wanted him to do so. He should have been able to stand up and say, no, I'm not going to do this. It's not how we want our military to be, and it's my decision as the head of chiefs of staff to decide what should or should in the United States military. That's what you pay me to do. Obviously, one could say maybe he agreed with Biden and that's why he did it, or maybe he did it in the ways that he did it to kind of, what's the word I want to say, make Biden feel that he was doing what he wanted to do. But I personally think that Milley didn't stand up to Biden, and I also believe that Biden had no reason to ask for some of the things that he wanted allowed in the military. I think he knew that it would weaken our military. Obviously, the standards had to be lowered drastically to allow males who wanted to transgender to be in, or even females that might have wanted to transgender to be able to get in. My belief is that anybody and everybody has a right to audition to get into the United States military. If you pass the audition, then you get in. If you maintain the PT requirement to be able to go into battle, and the time comes for you to go into battle, then you go into battle. If you don't maintain the PT requirement to go into battle, and the military and you decide that you can take another job in the military, and that job is available, then yeah, you take it. Me, I probably couldn't have passed the PT if they had drafted me in boot camp. I only would have gone into the Marines because I wanted to get into the Armed Forces Radio Network. And if they had gotten me into the Armed Forces Radio Network, I probably would have played myself in Good Morning Vietnam. That's just me. Comments, Randy?
Well, what I wanted to say was that, I was in the Air Force, and I chose initially to go in as a reservist to make sure I was going to be able to first pass all the requirements physically, and to see if I was going to enjoy it before I would jump in as a full service active duty soldier. And as it was, I had during the calisthenics situation, they get you up in the morning and you're out there doing all kinds of calisthenics. That's when my situation with my heart started showing itself as a physical problem because I wasn't able to keep up with the calisthenics. So they reduced the standards for me to keep me in basic training. Otherwise, they would have to discharge me and send me home. So instead of my running, the 3 miles or whatever, they allowed me to walk. Instead of doing push-ups, they allowed me to do something different. So they made exceptions for me to stay in the military, whereas I probably should have been discharged. So I did. Right. Graduate and so forth. And it was in my 4th year of being a reservist that my family doctor found I had a mitral valve prolapse, which essentially is a hole in my heart valve that when my heart beats, it doesn't quite close all the way, and it lets some blood drain back into the lower chamber. I don't know how the military found out, but they did. And when I went to my next weekend training, they were going to be doing gas mask training to get prepared for combat. And they pulled me out saying, nope, you're done. We heard about your heart. We're going to discharge you with an honorable discharge,
Right.
and let you go. Now, they could have found other jobs for me. I wasn't given the option, for like a desk job, pushing papers. I mean, there were other things I could have done for the military, but they never offered it to me. And that kind of pisses me off because I would have loved to transfer and change into active duty, but I wasn't given the opportunity. So
if they wanted you bad enough, they would have offered to do the surgery that would have allowed you to continue if they wanted to. There does come a point where they will medically discharge you, but I believe it's called medical retirement. They don't call it medically discharge you, but I could be wrong.
No, it's medically discharge.
But okay, I'm being told it's medical discharge.
Correct, medical discharge.
Right. But the person that I'm talking about, in the course of being in the military, got injured while he was in the military.
He was retired.
So they did whatever they had to do to correct his injuries, and then at that point they said, it's not that we don't want to keep you in, but the risk of you hurting yourself even more is greater. So he received a full discharge, which is full retirement, but is medically not able to serve in the military. But
but the thing with
the rules may have to change, but generally, if you can't pass boot camp, the rule pretty usually is they don't keep you. They give you an honorable discharge and they send you on your way, unless you did something while you were in the military that earned a less than honorable discharge. But if the fact is that you're just not capable, or something that you were critically trained to do you couldn't pass, they will generally give you an honorable discharge, most likely because the rest of your class is people that are ready to go up and be assigned a job. I mean, I'm not saying it's wrong, but again, as the parents of the military, they have to take care of their children as best as they can.
Right, but the thing with me is that surgery wasn't required. The doctor said, Randy, treat it like you would treat a cold. You take this medicine, it's 1 pill a day, and just be aware that, if you go into certain surgeries, you have to, go through it different, with extra antibiotics, things like that. I mean, obviously, all these years later, there's nothing I can do about it. But all I'm saying is that as much as Trump wants to keep us out of war, somehow I don't think that is going to happen. There's just too many, troops on the playing field who are in various parts around the world fighting or starting to fight that's going to drive us in. It's like, Trump wants to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico. Well, as far as I know, that's just simply paperwork and changing the maps. If he wants the Panama Canal, well, now that might take some military support. But, I agree with him. China is paying less to have their ships flow through the Panama as opposed to what we're being charged. And it's not fair. So either you reduce the the charges to us, or we're going to take it back by force.
Well, you can try to take it back by force, but what if you lose? What if China backs Panama and they win? The point is that's really a conversation that needs to happen between Panama and every country that uses the Panama Canal, and the toll should be the same for everybody.
Right, I agree.
Regardless of how far you came from to cross. If your rates, we built it so that it would be, in theory, an expressway to get to the United States, or to get our ships out of the United States and to other parts of the world. Whether or not we should have given, I don't really know. And to be honest, it's really not a issue. But the rules should be and should have been that same. That's why we built it. And the tolls should be what supports it. It shouldn't be any exception. China, however, taking over or owning docks or in harbors around the world should not be allowed to own or manage the Panama Canal for Panama. Why? Because they're only going to play favorites with the people that they want to play favorites with. Our tolls will go way up. They might not have to pay tolls. Canada might have to pay less. I mean, more. So it's not fair to me. It's a and if we go in there militarily and try to take it over, I think it's going to lead to a major war with every country in the world that uses it and needs to have access to it is going to get in, and it's going to be something that might launch World War III. The other things, Canada and Greenland, 51st and 52nd state, everybody's going to have a different view because people in Canada that we all know of and see on a lot of broadcasts who are in Canada they're implying the bulk of Canadian citizens do not want us to do it. In Greenland, where the 57,000 Greenlandians, or whatever you want to call them, are more than willing to do it because they seem to be under the assumption that they're going to get $1 million if we do it. We're not buying them as citizens of the United States. We would be buying the country or negotiating, taking over the country with the King of Denmark. He's going to name his price, and if we don't do it, either someone else will do it or he'll continue to hold it. Obviously, obviously he's going to do it. And where I have said, and I know others believe, that because China is snooping around to build a strategic base in Greenland, Russia is snooping around to build a strategic base in Greenland, the United States wants it for whatever reason they want. Well, maybe the King of Denmark should meet with representatives from all three countries and work out some agreement. And, if we want to own the most of it, then maybe he should sell most of it to us. And then he should sell the rest to the others that want a piece of it. And then the question is going to be, are we going to go to war with Russia and China to battle for control of Greenland? I just, to me, it comes down to, like I said, this whole thing comes down to a matter of money that we don't have. Printing money and buying Canada or buying Greenland, it's at some point that money has to have some value, and it doesn't, and it won't. And as much as I love President Trump, he can say what he wants to do, but some things he can't just write an executive order and it's done. He can't write an executive order to send the military into China. Into Canada. He can't write an executive order to send the military into Mexico. Naming rights on our portion of the Gulf of Mexico, or even trying to name the whole Gulf of Mexico, something that he wants to be, really doesn't alleviate the problem. If we change the name to the Gulf of Mexico, anybody who gets to Mexico's northern border that is hell-bent on getting into the United States is going to cross that body of water regardless of what it's called.
Yeah. That's right. I was late. Jim Longo. I was spending some time watching TV with my wife.
That's okay.
But I do want to jump off now and get back to work here.
Okay.
I just found your guys' conversation was interesting. Thought I'd just jump in and catch.
Well, I thought you were coming on, so I'm glad you did.
And
take a minute and tell people what you said. You got to get back to work. Take a minute and tell people what work is.
Okay, so I do have 3 openings on my calendar. I do genealogy, and it's the study of your family research. I use over 12 different services to verify all the information I gather is correct. I have a lot of past clients who love what I did, who are willing to testify to my ability to do accurate and good work, I'd be willing to talk to you and give you an example of what I can do in such a short period of time. I'm extremely cheap because I love what I do. I don't charge the full amount. I charge like $3 an hour to do family research, whereas most people will charge $35 or $45 an hour. I have a lot of broadcasts that will show you what I can do. If you just want to talk, reach out to me at Randall Rhodes or at my group page, All Roads Lead to Home Genealogy, and we can talk. And with that,
Okay. Anything?
well, so I was going to say
I'm
something.
glad the Confederate flag is back in your studio.
I
said I'm glad the Confederate flag is back in your studio.
Oh, thank
Would
you.
I ever hang one in my studio? I don't know, but it always belonged in your studio, and I'm glad that it is back.
Well, what you ought to do for your background is a Israeli flag. That would look neat.
No.
You know, you're not proud of your heritage.
I'm proud of my heritage, but I don't see any reason to fly the Israeli flag in my or in my studio. But then again, I would fly. I would put up I have a beautiful wooden U.S. flag that once. If I had it, I would love to hang it behind me, but it will most likely be on the wall of whatever the studio becomes when.
Yeah. I liked what Michael was saying about on the broadcast. Having a rotation of conversation between the people on the panel. And that's some of the reasons why I jump off, because, I come onto a panel and I don't interrupt people. I let them, let them just have their speech. And then, when it's my turn, then I talk. But what was happening was that it was never my turn. There were individuals, I won't mention names, who would take over a person's broadcast. So if it was your broadcast, individuals would take over your broadcast. And they would just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. And here I am sitting, and like you said, with your memory, I spied your same thing. Write down on paper what the hell I want to talk about, because by the time they take a breath and I want to quick jump in, I forgot what I wanted to say. So I agreed that there should be like a rotation. Jerry, Michael, Chucky, and go in that rotation. And I think it would work fine.
It was my fear, right? It's always been my fear, not that because I interrupt everybody else, but it was always my fear that if I stopped somebody to allow someone else, either they would leave or the people that couldn't get a chance to talk might leave or whatever. And I just kind of agreed with myself. The policy would be I interrupt everybody else. So realistically, anybody else should feel they have the right to, if they have to, interrupt somebody else so they can talk, as long as we all do it, politely. Don't start yelling something negative at each other and cause a fight so that I have to jump in and silence you both and let Jen Woodruff talk. I try to let it be a conversation, let it run itself between the people that are in it. But yes, I am guilty of even myself deciding when I've spoken enough has spoken enough. I try to look around the cameras and see when someone looks like they have something they really want to say, and it has been long enough that the person who has been speaking, and then I will just intentionally interrupt you to if it is, get control back so that I can pass it to someone else. I pride my panel broadcasts as being anybody should get a chance to talk, and whenever they want. And if people don't like that, I usually tell them then you might not want to be on on these broadcasts, because I watch other broadcasts and I may be told that, I need to stop and give someone else a turn, but maybe no one else is. And I'm not citing any problems. It's just on my broadcast, I believe everybody has a right to talk, and it may involve gently and politely interrupting one person, or hoping that Dave has to turn his mic off because of background noise.
Yeah, sounds like someone's yawning in the background. Someone's sleepy.
My wife she's been very busy crocheting for crochet. She has, and I don't know if either one of us the last couple of days, because of Florida weather, have slept particularly either well. I seem to all of a sudden feel like I have more energy in the morning.
It's that cold air
Most
against
days,
you.
I still end up laying down and taking a nap for a few hours every now and then, but it's not as often. I'm drinking more coffee to stay awake. I'm paying attention to Facebook groups and other things, and scouting out X a little bit more. I really want to add X, but it's a
speaking
thing, and I don't feel like talking about it today.
Speaking of X, guess who got an apology yesterday? I did.
Who did?
From YouTube.
For what?
YouTube. When I was live streaming the inauguration using Facebook, right? About 15, 20 minutes into it, YouTube shut down my feed, saying I violated community standards, right? And along with that pop-up notice, they gave me all these nasty, ways they're going to beat me up because I did that, right? So today I look, and here they are apologizing, and they gave me back my YouTube, and they're allowing my streaming to go back on.
They had made a blanket statement. I didn't see it, but other people told me that they saw it, that they were not going to allow any inauguration feeds of YouTube that were on YouTube to be shared off of YouTube or be used in the background of any broadcast anywhere else. They just weren't going to allow it. So I'm sure as they nailed people for doing it, they had another internal discussion, and fair use probably came up, which means that you're allowed to basically take any broadcast you see anywhere on the internet and incorporate it into your broadcast, as long as you stay to the reason.
Right. Well, the big thing is
of that
the big
broadcast.
thing is that I wasn't taking the inauguration off of YouTube. It was Newsmax that I had on my second monitor that I was live streaming through eView. So I wasn't taking anything from YouTube. I was actually sharing YouTube.
But if Newsmax got the feed from YouTube, from somebody on YouTube, and they put it into their broadcast, and you used it, that technically violated YouTube telling everybody, don't take YouTube broadcasts of the inauguration and share them. That's basically what you did.
I would think Newsmax has their own camera crew there. They're not taking feed off of YouTube.
No, there was most likely only one feed coming out of the Capitol that was sent to
That's
everybody.
Possible, yeah.
To the best of my knowledge, they didn't actually have individual there from wherever like they would do outside, because they just didn't have the space. There were some cameras in there, but I believe that everything was going into the feed at the Capitol and going out from the Capitol to anybody who wanted to use it. The House side has their feed, the Senate side has their feed, and anywhere in the middle is common ground.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just they didn't have enough room for the people that wanted to be there, obviously. So they didn't have everybody inside. They might have had somebody's inside that they pre-approved to be in there, uh, sending it out respectively. But I don't believe it was a whole lot of people. I do know a friend who got a 7-camera feed from a friend of hers who did in fact have press credentials to be there, and it's very possible that his 7 cameras were moved
Hey, Dave, quick
inside.
question for you. You are extremely blurry. Is that window next to you?
It's
Can you open up the curtain to
it's
see if that helps with
it's
the video?
no, I could, but it won't. It's a fuzzy feed. Our Comcast internet is a wireless modem that has to look for the best signal on a Comcast tower or whatever to connect to. So if it is not able to get a good picture, it doesn't get a good picture. Also, I'm at 780. I'm at 780p only because Tron, as I call her, is limited to a 720 feed, seven whatever it is, seven whatever it is, p camera, and I don't want to. I could get a camera and clip it to the top or mount it behind me, but I really don't want to do that. So today, because the weather here in Florida bites, it's 33 degrees. It's possibly very rainy and very icy out there. That
Could you do me just could you just do me a favor? The window I see next to you. Could you just open up the blind and see what happens with your video?
Okay, I can't open up the whole blind. I have to just open up the each individual.
Oh, okay, I got you. It's like it's a Venetian blind
because it doesn't work.
Gotcha.
The cording to do that is behind the dresser, but it doesn't work right anyway.
Trust me, I've had those curtains.
What I generally do is ask Donna for window shades to pull down, and I can just push up as I need them. But unfortunately, we were not given that option. I mean, we could have replaced it here, but just decided to deal with it the way that it is. But
unfortunately,
anyway,
with my situation with the internet is that because of the Comcast claims that since I have 8 devices using Wi-Fi and usually at the same time, I had to go to a certain speed of their Comcast, which means I'm paying through a damn asshole for the service. But I will say it helped a lot. It really did.
Well, if the house went to hardwired Comcast or hardwired AT&T, which was the plan, although AT&T went out on strike and kept changing the installation dates, we wouldn't have most of the problems that we do. Yesterday, whatever speed was coming into the house was not fast
for all your
enough
devices
for my daughter-in-law to be on a business meeting. So she politely came in and tapped on the door and asked me if I could log off. And in thinking about it, yesterday wasn't a scheduled broadcast.
So I want to wrap my brain around this so I can have. I love to try and understand things. That's why I sometimes I beat things to death. So if I'm understanding correctly, your internet is not a cable from a telephone pole, whatever, to your house, and then a Comcast modem being wired into the wall outlet to give you a hardwired connection to the internet. Correct?
Well, what you do is the pole that comes into your house brings a wire that connects to the box. Then the box.
Yep.
the box comes into the house, and usually at that point where the box comes into the house is where you put the cable modem. And you want to do it, in your case, and you want to do it in probably in the studio that you use the most, and you want to take a Ethernet cable. If your towers have an Ethernet out, you take an Ethernet cable and plug that into the cable modem, and that's the best connection that you're going to get. That's the best connection, regardless of what network you're using. That's the best connection that you're going to get. The other option is if you're using Wi-Fi, put the cable modem in your house, in whatever room, in one of your studios, make that your main studio, and you can still Ethernet connect into that. I can't plug an Ethernet cord into Tron only because she didn't come with one. I have to figure out
who is Tron?
A conversion adapter. My Windows 11 laptop, I've called her Tron.
Oh God, okay.
Because in the movie Tron, humans went into a computer.
I love that movie.
So I named her Tron because
I love that movie.
Gurus at the time were going inside of Tron to do whatever.
So your Tron
they had.
So your Tron doesn't have an Ethernet connection.
It doesn't have an Ethernet port.
Okay,
so what I have to find out is if there is an adapter that can plug into a USB port that will convert the USB port to be able to plug into an Ethernet.
Gotcha.
An Ethernet cord and work that way. But yeah, the Ethernet cord to an Ethernet port is the best connection that you're going to get.
So now you just maybe want to go watch Tron again.
It's all about money.
Yeah. It's always about money. And with that, I gotta get going so I can make some money.
Yep. All right. I got to talk to you in the next couple of days when you have some time, just to see if you found anybody famous on my side besides me. All right, Randy. Randy Rhodes, All Roads Lead to Home Genealogy. I believe there are two groups. I don't know if Randy had a group. It was somehow taken over by somebody else, and he launched a second group as the original All Roads Lead to Home Genealogy. So if you go to All Roads Lead to Home Genealogy group and you don't see Randy Rhodes listed as the admin, then try the original. And if you get in there, it just means that if you get into All Roads Lead to Home Genealogy, it means that Randy worked it out and got it back. As I had started to say with him about anybody who aired in the background of their live stream or even shared a YouTube video with any portion of the inauguration in it. People I know on YouTube were told that YouTube was going to not allow that. So if they took your broadcast down, that's because the algorithms at YouTube told them to take your broadcast down. If they took the post away from you, that's what the algorithms were told you. I'm sure if you appealed it, and if you appealed it, you probably were reversed, and YouTube apologized for doing what they did. If you understand what fair use is a ruling that the FCC has that you can take anything on the internet and put it on your broadcast as long as you stay true to what the people who made the video want. So in this case, you could show anybody's video, YouTube video of the inauguration on your broadcast while you're talking about the inauguration. If you start going anti whatever that person's YouTube video and speaking from the dark side, this, that, and the other, fair use usually doesn't apply. But things are going to change on how the FCC regulates YouTube. Things are going to change on how the FCC regulates Facebook. Facebook is going to try to go from fact checking to community notes, which is what X uses. Anybody who wants is allowed to make a comment on a post that X feels might need to be taken down. The majority of the people that comment make the decision. If people think then it will be taken down. If people don't, then on X they don't take it down. So that's going to how it's going to change is that, like I have said, FCC Chairman Brendan Carr is going to work with the FCC commissioners and other people involved, and he is going to rewrite Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act of 1996, which is the Bible for the internet, and bring it up to date. Take some things out, put some things in, and then freedom of speech on the internet and on social media networks and all of that. But until it happens, we're at the mercy of the people that own the networks that we're on. We're on Facebook. I send it out to as many groups as I can every day. I sent the promo to 41 groups. I think I'm over it in my today, so that means the 8 or 10 and probably 8 or 10 admin in. If you want it in your group, let me know. If you can't watch it live and you have to watch a podcast, if you want me to messenger every day, send me a message that clearly send it to you and put that date on it. If you don't want me to send it to you anymore, send me a message telling me you don't want me to message it to you anymore and that date on it, and I will print out and hold that. That way, if Facebook comes back to me and claims a spamming violation for it getting into your group, I can simply say, they asked me, or your messenger, you asked me to do it, and you told me not to do it, so I stopped doing it. Anyway, ultimately, what's really going to probably happen sooner or later is that we're just going to post the podcast on Facebook and move it over to other social media networks live with a live chat and go from there. It's nothing against the people on Facebook that want to watch. It's just 15 and a half years of Facebook treating me less than the way I feel I deserve to be treated is really getting to my brain. I'm stepping out of groups that I don't want to be an admin in anymore just because I don't want to be an admin in those groups anymore. I'm accepting admin in groups that think the same way I do when it comes to how groups operate. And there's nothing wrong. You as a group owner or as an admin can operate your group any way you want. But I seem to get invited into a lot of groups because people see that I'm a successful group owner and admin of groups here on Facebook. And when I ask the other admins and the group owner if they want me to do things that I think need to be done, and they say no, I usually walk away from the group because it's not worth me doing things that I think need to be done. So anyway, on that note, you can always watch Boogie with the Bull broadcast in the Boogie with the Bull Uncensored group. That group is open to anyone on Facebook. If you have a Facebook account anywhere on planet Earth, you can participate in that group. If you decide you want to move up from being a participant to being a member, you can ask to be made a member, and you 9 out of 10 times become one. It's open Trump troll season on Facebook, and they're out in full force going against Trump supporting groups, Trump supporting members of Facebook. And as I have said every year in this situation, bring it on. If you're in one of my groups and the members of the groups ask you that I remove you, they're the majority, you get removed. If you do not provide a Facebook profile that shows what you do on Facebook, and it doesn't even have to be that you show Trump supporting, it just shows me some activity you have done on Facebook for as long as you have been on Facebook, and don't just send me a profile with a cameo that shows you opened your Facebook account a day ago and your Facebook account posts are locked to your friends, because if you do, I can't see what you do on Facebook. I can't get an idea of whether or not I should put you into our groups. I've always said you do not have to be a Trump supporter. You do not have to be a MAGA supporter, an America First supporter. You don't have to be a Republican. You don't even have to be an American citizen. You just have to support everybody else and what they think and how they feel and what they post in the groups. You are more than welcome to go on to any post in any one of the groups, except in the private groups. In the private groups, if your group files that you're a Facebook profile that doesn't show anything of what you do, Facebook, my admins can't get an ID. Was Trump troll in the comment posts on the group, you'll be probably let go as soon as I see that that's what you're doing. And there's nothing wrong with what you do, but the majority of the groups I own don't care for Trump trolls. I don't have any problem with Trump trolls usually, because within 15 minutes of their first comment on the first post or something they post in the group, the majority of the group asks me to remove them, or if they don't, they burn themselves out when they get responses from Trump supporters that are in the group. So anyway, on that note, I got to end so that my wife can turn the TV set back on and watch all kinds of things that she wants to watch while she is crocheting, and allow her to get back to work and me to just do whatever I do in the course of the day. I might take the green putty out for 20 or 30 minutes and do three sets with that. Anyway, to the best of my knowledge, I will be on the American Rebellion Wednesday tonight at 7 p.m. downstairs on the American Rebellion blogger page, somewhere on Rumble, somewhere where they are, because I can't remember where I put the pad of paper that I wrote the answer to where they are on Rumble and where they are on X. I have been broadcast schedule and YouTube channel link for anyone on X who wants to watch, access to the YouTube live channel, live chat. If you use that link that is posted, if you don't want to do that and you have a open active Facebook account, you're more than welcome to join us on my profile here on Facebook. And we are on Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 10 a.m. to about 11:30.
Really?
And sometimes we go later. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. Sometimes we go later. 10 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. On Friday, we start with Red Friday. Remember, everyone deployed. And then we go into the same general broadcast. And on Tuesday, Thursday, it is Boogie with the Bull Uncensored. You're allowed to say what you mean as long as you mean what you say. And work on making sure everybody on the panel gets an opportunity to. I will also take Michael's into consideration connection, and sometimes I may just do a broadcast myself. They probably won't be an hour and a half because I don't really have any desire to do an hour and a half broadcast myself, because I think if I write down or even think about what I want you to talk about on a broadcast, it might hit an hour, then it will hit 45, then I'll get it down to a half an hour, and that'll be fine. Ideally, I'd like to get it down to 15 minutes or less for sharing it out on X. Anyway, you've been watching Boogie with the Bull, Wednesday morning caffeine, a copyrighted presentation of the No Budget Broadcasting Company. Doesn't mean anything to anybody other than me. Double B's for victory. This Boogie with the Bull broadcast has come to an end. Hopefully our internet will clear up this afternoon, and my camera will be a little clearer, crisper. And last night on Tuesday night, Uncensored, I had no problems with the internet. It survived the entire broadcast. So, and find out whether or not it does tonight. Double B's for victory. This Boogie with the Bull broadcast has come. Click that properly. There we go. Double B's for victory. This